What's up, guys? Welcome to your 113th Android tutorial for the new Boston. What we're going to do in this tutorial, we're actually going to set up our database. We're going to create a subclass and use the database helper for the most part to set up our database. So we have all our variables set up, and now we just need to kind of reference everything, pull everything together, and we're going to use a class that's going to help us build a database. Again, you don't want to, create your database on a user interface thread. So we're going to create a new class that's going to handle it for us. So we're just going to call this class DB database helper, something like that. And we're going to extend the class called SQLite OpenHelper. And just set up a new pair of brackets. And again, as you can see, it's just a private class. It's static, and we just have to import our SQLite OpenHelper. And we're getting an error because we need to add a constructor for this class. Again, a constructor is something that just helps. It's kind of like an onCreate method for the most part when this class gets accessed. So we're going to set that up. And actually, I don't even like these other parameters for the most part. So we're just going to use the context and delete these here because we aren't going to use them for this constructor for the most part. And now we just need to kind of set up or give our settings back for our superclass. So as for now, we're getting an error. As you can see, it takes in for the parameters the context, which is being passed into our constructor, a string, which is going to be our database name, a cursor factory, which if you scroll down, you can see null for default, which we're going to use, and then the version name, because you can upgrade or you can have different versions of your database. So let's just get everything set up so the super is happy for the most part for our SQLite OpenHelper. Just make sure that class is happy with what we're passing into the super here. So again, our name is our database name, which we called hot or not database, which the variable name is database underscore name. And again, for our factory, we're going to say null for the cursor, and the version, since we have our database, we set up that variable up there as well. We're going to say database version, and that's just passing some some information into our super class, because it wants some information, so we're going to make it happy. Alright, so now we're getting another error because we need to actually implement some classes from this method SQLite OpenHelper. So we're going to say add unimplemented methods, and it adds two methods for us, the onCreate method, which takes in SQLite database, DB, and upgrade method, and basically what's going to happen is the first time we ever create a database is the only time this onCreate method is going to be called. After that, it's just basically going to call this upgrade method, and then we're going to cycle it through as well. Alright, so now we need to set up a couple more variables. One, we're going to reference this database helper class. We're going to create an instance of that, and we're also going to set up a context that we're going to use for this class. So I know this might not be making a whole lot of sense yet, but I am going to try and go somewhat slow through this through this SQL database little example that we're going to build, because it seems like a lot of people have trouble with SQL stuff. But what we need to do is create like I said, an instance of this class. So we're going to say DB, or whatever you guys labeled that class as, DB helper, and we're going to call this our helper, something like that. So it's just an instance of this class. We're also going to set up a context for our class. So we're going to say private final context our context, or our context. And one last class, we're going to actually reference the SQLite database class. So we're going to say private SQLite database and our database. So we set up some more variables. I'll just kind of explain them as we go when we use them. And in the next tutorial, we'll set up our onCreate method here for our database. As we need to add a constructor for our whole public class called hot or not, and it's basically going to get the context of that's being passed into this class and just set it up to this private variable so we can work with it that way. So just go below, our database helper class. We're just going to again set up a constructor that's going to be public, and we're going to say hot or not, and it's going to take in a context which we're going to call C, and all we're going to do is set our context, which is the context of this class, equal to what's being passed in. So there we go. I don't know if you guys quite understand what we're doing yet, but I promise you will. Well, at least I hope you will. I'll try and go pretty slow through all this SQLite database stuff because it seems like a lot of people have trouble with this. So, as for now, you guys might be confused, but hopefully you'll understand more as we go. In the next tutorial, we'll actually set up our onCreate method and set up our our database. So, I'll have a good one, guys.